One of the things that I think is so important for all of us is if someone thinks you're wrong, that doesn't mean they're brainwashed. If someone doesn't agree with you, that doesn't mean they're brainwashed. And, because families will come to me and I get calls and emails every day, and people will say, well, I think my kid is in a cult. I think my father's in a cult. I think my cousin's in a cult. And about half the time I'm telling them, no, that's not what's going on here. And just because you don't agree with your family member does not mean that they're brainwashed. It just means they have a differing opinion, and I give them the criteria that they can determine that with, and I can tell them, I cannot deprogram your family member because your family member wasn't programmed in the first place. This is who they are. These are their sincerely held beliefs. What we're looking at in deprogramming is someone whose beliefs have been radically changed by an authoritarian leader using identifiable techniques of coercive persuasion and thought reform. And in my book, I explain all of that in a chapter titled Cult Brainwashing, in which I incorporate Lifton, Edgar Schein, who taught at MIT and wrote the book Coercive Persuasion. And you look at these techniques and ask yourself, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, maybe it's a duck. But if it doesn't fit that profile, admit to yourself, okay, my family member has peculiar beliefs that I don't agree with. I think they're nuts. But that doesn't mean they're brainwashed, and that doesn't mean they're in a cult. And let's not use the word cult indiscriminately. I would say there are destructive cults, benign cults. I would say there is such a thing as a cult following that would not fit the profile of a destructive cult. And we need to make those distinctions.
I agree. I totally agree. By the way, are you following anything with Diddy?
Yeah, I followed it a bit.
Yeah. Would you put him as because a lot of the stuff you talk about, cash, he wanted to make the money. Adulation, he had to be in every music video. Sexual favors, are you kidding me? He did that with men, women, by force, all this other stuff. How do you profile Diddy in regards to being a cult-like leader?
I don't necessarily see him as a cult leader, but I see him as using cult-like techniques of coercive control to dominate and manipulate women. And in particular, there were various women that talked about their life with him and what it was like. I believe there was one video of him dragging a woman, beating a woman.
Cassie,
yeah, and so I think what you could honestly say about him, he fits the profile of an abusive, controlling partner, and that the women that he controlled were somewhat isolated and manipulated by him and made to feel that whatever bad happened to them was somehow their fault and that he was not to blame. And so he kind of follows in the footsteps of O.J. Simpson in his relationship with Nicole Brown Simpson, which was very similar, where the woman was degraded, the woman was socially isolated, the woman was mistreated, but lived in that kind of an abusive situation. Another example would be Ike Turner, Tina Turner, which has always fascinated me because Tina Turner, as we saw her in her later career, was such a strong woman and such a dynamic woman. But what I've seen over and over in my casework with families that I've worked with, interventions that I've done, trials that I've testified in, is that even the most independent thinking, intelligent person can, step by step, slowly but surely, be pulled into this kind of trap. And I've often said that people are tricked and then trapped by abusive, controlling partners.
I like that, tricked and trapped.
Tricked and trapped.
Not I like that. I like the structure of the way you're saying it. Tricked and trapped. Makes sense.
Tricked first.
That makes sense for this guy.
Into becoming involved, thinking probably that Cassie felt. He loves me. He's going to take care of me. He's a wonderful man.